Census webinar. I would like to request Imam Hafiz Khalid Raza from Islamic Center of Old Bridge to please give us the opening prayer.
Jazakallah khair. Ayaz Bhai, thank you so much for having me. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you. You are always, mashallah, an active community member, always doing something for community. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you well. Let's begin with the prayer. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salamu ala Sayyidil Anbiya wal Mursaleen. اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد معدن الجود والكرم وآله الكرام وابنه الكريم وبارك وسلم. اللهم ربي يسر ولا تعسر وتمم بالخير. اللهم رب زدنا علما يا فتاح. اللهم افتح علينا حكمتك وانشر علينا رحمتك يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. جزاك الله خير.
Thank you so much, Imam Khalid Raza. We very much appreciate you helping us give us a starting prayer. Next up, Imam Safed Karavic, chaplain at Drew University, is also a member of statewide clergy council and a member of Faith in New Jersey, has a recorded message that we will be playing at this time. Sami, audio.
Yeah, we are not able to hear the audio, just the video is shown.
Right.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, my dear sisters and brothers. Hukum fillah, your brother.
Yes, we can. Yes.
Safed Abed Chadovich, Imam and Muslim chaplain at Drew University in Madison, New Jersey. I also serve as the member of the statewide clergy council and board of trustees of Faith in New Jersey, a multi-faith, multiracial network of faith leaders and faith communities working together to protect religious liberties and advance an immigration, racial, economic, and human justice agenda at the local, state, and federal level. Our religion of Islam teaches us in no uncertain terms, in numerous verses of the Holy Quran, and as evidence in the Hadith Sharif, the sacred sayings of our beloved Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, of our obligation to continue to uphold the prophetic call and the practice of Hizbah, al-amr bil ma'ruf wa nahy anil munkar, the enjoining the right and the just and forbidding the wrong and unjust, as this is both a condition of our faith and the basis of our spiritual leadership amongst peoples. This is also an ijma', the consensus of the scholars of this ummah, this faith community over time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for example, tells us in Surah Al-Imran, chapter 3, verse 110, Kuntum khayra ummatun ukhrijat lin-nas ta'muruna bil ma'ruf wa tanhawna 'anil munkar wa tu'minuna billah. You are indeed the best community that has ever been brought forth for the good of humanity. You enjoin the doing of what is right and you forbid the doing of what is wrong and you believe in God. As Imam al-Qurtubi observed in his tafsir of this verse, you are only the best peoples, only if you enjoin the good and forbid the evil. Our beloved Prophet Muhammad ﷺ brought this communal obligation, Fardul Kifaya, to an individual responsibility, Fardul Ain, when he directed us with the following. Man ra'a minkum munkaran falyughayyiru biyadihi, fa in lam tastati' fa bi lisani, wa in lam tastati' fa bi qalbi. Whoever among you sees an evil, let him change it with his hand. If he cannot, with his tongue, and if he cannot, his heart. and that is the weakest of faith, or in another narration beyond that, there is no faith. Here in America, at the most basic level, this means we need to stand up and be counted and speak out when we see and witness munkar, clear wrongdoing. For our First Amendment rights as American citizens not only allow and protects our right to dissent in the face of wrongdoing and injustice, but requires it of us. Speaking truth to unjust power is both true faith and true patriotism. But we cannot effectively speak if we are not informed or actively engaged in the political life in America. How do we become active? First, by making sure that we are counted. It is all our responsibility as people who reside, live, work, and study in America to be counted every decade in the census according to the US Constitution. The accuracy and results of the census impact all of us in so many ways, which will be shared by our esteemed panelists during this webinar. The historic record of census taking is found in many religious traditions and histories of different peoples. From the Sirah, the life biography of our Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, peace and blessings be upon him, we find that he directed an informal census to be taken in the city-state of Medina, Arabia, in order to gauge the military readiness and potential numbers of able-bodied individuals for defense of the city of Medina. This census was localized, limited in scope, and informal head count to gauge defensive strength. The first person to implement in Islamic history a fully recorded regular census was the second Khalifa of Islam, Umar ibn al-Khattab, the famous Sahaba. This census was formalized and was taken in order to effectively and fairly manage and track the distribution of zakat and sadaqah, poor's due and voluntary charity, benefits throughout society, which was now rich in financial and material resources. Registries called diwans were established according to the tribes and families in order to manage and track the distribution of these benefits. As to derived reasoning from the above religious examples as to why Muslims should participate in the current census, I think one would be safe in saying that this census is important to gauge the needs of the community to better serve its various demographic sectors and assess its talents, resources, strengths, and weaknesses. And then, after taking the census, those of us who are citizens need to register to vote and to exercise our vote so that those who are elected represent us and are reflective of our moral value.
Right. Thank you so much, Imam Seyfet, for that very good message. So today we have two presenters, Brother Jimmy Small. He's a retired educator, track coach, and a public servant. During his 30 years tenure with the Newark Public Schools, he won accolades and awards as a science educator, coach for both robotics and debate teams. He simultaneously worked for 31 years as a head track coach at Hillside High. Brother Jimmy Small was the first Muslim to be elected to the East Orange City Council. He is currently the president of Muslim League of Voters, a nonprofit organization dedicated to voter education and community involvement. He's also the founding member of New Jersey Muslim Voters Project, which is now known as New Jersey Muslim Voice for Progress. Our second presenter today is Sister Zainab Syed. She received her BA in pre-medicine and BS in computer science from Rutgers and NJIT joint program. She started her community service for over 10 years ago, helping out the community, connecting them with resources and programs. She was a vice principal at local Islamic school and has also volunteered as director of Center for Muslim Life. Currently, Sister Zainab Syed is a co-president of American Muslims for Democracy. She's very active in Central Jersey politics. She's very passionate about human rights issues. She's also on the planning committee for TCF New Jersey, and she serves on board of Old Bridge Public Library. Her current job, she is a grant administrator for Census for the Office of Secretary of State. I would like to thank both of the presenters for joining us today and to give us an insight on census, why it's important, and why we all need to get involved. So, Brother Jimmy, it's all yours.
Okay, assalamu alaikum. Brother Sammy, can you please bring up the PowerPoint? All right, thank you very much. Okay, next, that's who we are, New Jersey Muslim Voices for Progress. Now here's what is this 2020 census? The 2020 census counts every person living in the United States and 5 U.S. territories. The census is conducted every 10 years. Now, some of the things that make up the census in a positive and a negative way. Well, we are a very mobile population, especially during this pandemic. Constrained fiscal environment, we currently are part of that because, again, the pandemic and just in general, rapidly changing use of technology. Now, much of the data that you will see that myself and Sister Zainab will be presenting is based on what is called the self-response rate, meaning people did this on the computer online. There's an information explosion. You may hear things in reference to the census and other things that may not even be true. And there's a lot of people, especially in urban areas, and I'll show you that data as well, that distrust the government. There's a decline, so that leads to a declining response rate, in which increasing, and we have an increasingly diverse population. Some people, again, don't trust the government. Informal and complex living arrangements. The census wants to account everybody that's living in a certain location, and they're not really looking for a whole lot of personal information. Next slide, please. Okay, what is at stake? Census data is used to apportion or divide multiple federal funding streams. The allocation of over $675 billion is available for 132 federal programs. All right, and here's where the rubber meets the road. Enforcing civil rights. Quite often, education is not funded right. If people are not doing the census, then we're not going to get the funding that we deserve. New Jersey, someone may know this better than I think we get back 64 cents for every $1 that we send to the federal government. So therefore, our schools, especially in urban and rural areas, are grossly underfunded. Employment, we don't get the kind of jobs offers because we are not completing the census. Voting. Some of you may remember about 10 years ago, the squabble between Pascarell and Rothman because we lost a seat. I can remember, because I'm old enough to recall, that we had 15 congressional districts at one time. Now we're down to 12. We need to at least hold on to that or even pick one back up after this census. Healthcare has been a battle royale for almost since the inception of the United States of America. Over the past 100 years, people have tried to come up with some sort of Medicaid for all, Medicare for all, and all kinds of schemes have been tried, going from Teddy Roosevelt through Obama and now Trump. But we still don't have Medicare for all. And criminal justice. We just went through this whole system of Black Lives Matter, and for that matter, all human beings matter, where the criminal justice system is not always in favor of people. And all this has to do with the census, because if you don't vote the correct people in, it often leads to some of those things that I said in a negative way. As I mentioned earlier, Medicare, Medicaid, and Medicare, Pell Grants for our college students, SNAP and WIC, that's better known as food stamps, substance abuse prevention and treatment. There are a lot of people that are on various substances that need help. Housing assistance. A lot of people don't have a place to live. Why? We're the richest country in the world because people didn't respond to the census. School meals. Now, in those 30 years, I taught that food sometimes in schools is not so good. If you have more money, then you can have better food. Low income housing. In And I'll give you an example. I remember I went visited Nevada once, and the Native Americans that were there lived in their low income housing was on the state pen property, which was ridiculous. And home energy assistance, of course. It gets cold in the winter, so we need people to have enough heat. Adoption assistance and special education. And those are some places that we need to really, really fund to help kids. The Electoral College, that's where when you lose the congressional seat, you lose votes to help choose the president. We lose congressional seats if you don't do the census. State legislature changes. The number of school board members you might have, judges could change. City council. Now this goes down even further. If you don't, let's say one part of your town or city does a good job of doing the census and the other part doesn't, you may lose a district or a district leader. So it changes all the way down to that level. Next slide, please. What kind of questions are asked? I just took one example. Was question one. How many people were living or staying in this house, apartment, or mobile home as of April 1st? That's what the information that is needed. What happened, what the amount of people that were living in a particular locale as of April 1st. Were there any additional people staying here on April 1st, 2020 that you did not include in question one? Where do you live? Is this a house, apartment, or mobile home? And what is the race of the people living in the location? Some people give that last part, some people get very, very touchy on that question about what their race is. What happens to your answers? Your personal information is kept confidential. The Census Bureau is bound by federal law to protect your information. And that this is what a lot of people sometimes do not believe. They believe that this data is going to be used for something else. Your data is used only for statistical purposes. The Census Bureau has a robust cybersecurity program that incorporates the industry's best practices and federal security standards for encrypting data. Next, please. What information will not be requested? The Census Bureau will never ask about social security numbers, bank or credit account numbers, money or donations, and anything on behalf of a political party. All right, here's how to complete the census. All of us should have gotten a census form back in March. Return it immediately. I know this number by heart, 844-330-2020, and submit your information then. That's in English. There are 14 languages. For those that do not speak English, English is one of the 14. Online, 2020census.gov, follow the prompts and submit your information. And I discovered a new one yesterday, nj.gov/state/census. This links you to the census form that can be filled out online. Now, language support online is by phone, by mail, as well as advertising. And here you see the 12 languages. The TTY is one of the languages, and of course English. And that's just a little display to the right. All right, we're gonna leave this up here for a minute. Have questions about the 2020 census? Assistance is available via the telephone in 14 languages and on a telephone display device for the hearing impaired. You use these numbers to file your census as well. So if you need to copy any of those, please do so. And there are also, yes, there are 14 languages, but you can also pull up on YouTube 59 other languages, including those 14, that will explain how to complete the census form in, say, Bengali. Because I was looking at that one last night. Key dates. From the present until October 31st, 2020 census self-response, meaning you can do it by phone, online, the paper ballot, the paper form that you were sent, you can send that back. If you have not self-responded, what I just stated, meant by August 11th, 2020, a census taker or enumerator will pay you a visit. But it's important that we get the census done before he or she has to come and visit you. Again, October 31st, 2020 is the last possible date to file your census. And okay, next slide. Now, this is the current census completion data by county. At the state level, 63.4%, the national level, 61.6%. So as you can see, New Jersey is doing a little bit better than the federal government. You're at Burlington County and Hunterdon County, they're way up in the 70%. Morris County's and also up at 72.8%. Just take a look, you may find your county and what's going on with their self-response rate. I'm going to talk about Cape May particularly in a moment. Now, it is important to complete the census for all properties, including seasonal homes. Now, you may have noticed that Cape May was only about 29%. Well, I have to, Sister Zainab may be able to help me out on this one a little bit. I'm not sure if you live in, say, Bergen County and you have a summer home in Cape May County, are you filing the census twice? That's the same question other people have, and so do I. But I did hear they want you to file and for your summer home as well.
So, Brother Jimmy, the way it works is you would count yourself at your primary residence, wherever you live most of the year. And for your secondary home, you would put a 0 in the form itself.
Okay.
You would, yeah. So that would show them that you own that home, but you don't reside in that home. Does that make sense?
Makes very good sense. You're the first one to give me a clear answer.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please. All right, now I have included what are called hard to count areas. All right, I'm my own hometown of East Orange is up here first. As you can see, 63.4% statewide, and we're only at, as of I think this or late this week, 46.2%. This is Orange, City of Orange. They're 40.9%. It's still way below the state average. City of Newark, 43.5%. And the city of Irvington, 40.9%. These are all Essex County towns that are classified as hard to count areas. And this is where people like myself who sit on the complete count committee or other ways of doing things are trying to get these numbers. So complete the census now. Your life depends upon it. I have information over here because I'm president of Muslim League of Voters. We have our website, mlvnj.org, my telephone number, and my email address. And I know Sister Zainab has some information she's going to impart for us. Some of it may be repetitive, but some of it may be new as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Jimmy. I was muted. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. So Brother Jimmy covered most of the important information that I was going to cover, and mashallah, he has an abundance of knowledge. So hopefully I'll cover some of the topics that are more number-based, more data. So what I'm going to do is, Brother Sammy, could you skip to slide number 3? So Brother Jimmy went over this already, which is how is getting out to count just as important, you know, as it is to get out to vote. So these are the reasons why that Brother Jimmy covered already. This is why we should be filling out the census. You know, right now with the Black Lives Matter movement and you know, the anti-racism movement, we need to start talking about census just as much as we talk about why we need to vote. Here's the reasons why, and it determines the number of seats each state has in the U.S. House of Representatives, defines congressional and state legislative districts, school districts, and precincts, determines annual allocation of $675 billion in federal funding. This is for the country. So out of which $23 billion would be coming to New Jersey. And if we are counted right, and if we get the accurate count, which would be 100%, we would be receiving $23 billion. But we haven't been getting an accurate count. In 2010, during the last census, we had about 60% of a count. So that means out of this $23 billion, we got about 60% of the $23 billion. And this is how it would be counted. There's money allocated for the state, and only a certain amount is going to be received by the state if we have an accurate count. And all of this money would be applied to all of these services. It provides insight to governments, business and community planning groups for planning purposes, provides population benchmarks for nearly every other United States survey. Next slide, Brother Sam. And there's 4 ways to respond. There's online, phone, paper, and personal visit. So if you do not want an enumerator to come to your door, the best way to fill it out is to go online or phone, and you're getting mailers in the mail. If you have chucked it out accidentally, if you have thrown it out, just go online. Brother Jimmy had shared the link to the website. It's 2020census.gov. And you just fill it out. It takes about not less than, it doesn't take more than 10 minutes. The phone numbers Brother Jimmy had shared, if you guys want, we can share with you so you can share with your community to educate them on how to fill it out. They will never ask for social security number, like Brother Jimmy said, money or donations, anything on behalf of a political party, bank or credit card information, or immigration status. Now, also, your private information is never published anywhere, including your name or your address. And that is protected under Title 13, which is a serious federal crime. All the enumerators have taken an oath, and they are subject to about, I think, 15 years of prison time, and anyone else, it's 5 years and up to $250,000 fine. Brother Sammy, next slide. Here are some ways you can verify an individual if he or she is a Census Bureau employee. So if you have an enumerator that shows up at your doorstep, this is what you would look for. You would look for an ID. They would be carrying an ID badge. There will be a name, a photograph, a watermark of the Department of Commerce, and an expiration date. And also they will be carrying a laptop or smartphone with Census Bureau logo on it. And census takers and field representatives will conduct their work between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. And if you're receiving any calls from someone and you think that if you feel that they're not a Census Bureau representative, you can call your local census office. I'm going to share that in the next slide. But this, okay, so there's been an error on here. So these are the AOC. These are the offices that have been opened as of June 1st. They were shut down because of COVID, and now they've been open. There's one in Jersey City, Newark, Trenton, Toms River, South Plainfield, Parsippany, and Egg Harbor. There are other offices that are going to be opening up soon. And if you need more information on how to figure out if it's a fraud, if it's a call that, if it's a fraudulent call, or if it's, if you don't trust the person who is at your door, please reach out to us, join our WhatsApp group, and I can share the information on who to contact. Brother Sammy, next slide. So the status of current operations, because of COVID, now we don't have, the way we were working before has changed. We didn't have the enumerators go out starting March 12th. You know, they were going to count certain entities a certain way, like the group quarters, for example, adult homes, community homes, and on-campus residences were going to be counted at a different time. So there's been shift in the dates, as you can see. So here you have group quarters, which is again the adult community homes and on-campus living. The dates have changed, and they are now April 2nd to September 3rd. Self-response, again, like Brother Jimmy said, started on March 12th, and it ends on October 31st. What is self-response? Self-response is what you would do when you go online, or you fill it out and mail out your census questionnaire, or you would call a phone and call one of those lines and fill out the census that way. And then the field offices, the managers and administrators, they will be out May 4th to June 12th. And if you look at the non-response follow-up, this will start on August 11th. So like Brother Jimmy said, if you haven't filled it out by August 11th, you haven't filled it out by phone, online, or sent out your questionnaire, someone will be at your door starting August 11th. In-person group quarters enumeration is again, if someone's living at an adult community or on campus living, somebody's going to be going there starting July 1st until September 30th. Sorry, I have to move my screen. September 3rd. Service-based enumeration is again the service providers at soup kitchens, shelters, and food vans. And shelters where, you know, the homeless shelters, for example, where folks go to find a place to stay overnight, or they are regulars at those shelters, they will be counted starting September 22nd, 24th. They did have a homeless count day back in April, but because of COVID, it didn't happen. So these dates have been reviewed. Brother Sammy, next slide. Okay, so mobile questionnaire assistance is, what is mobile questionnaire assistance? That would have been locations where they would have census kiosks, and people would just go in and fill it out. But now that because of COVID, everything is being reviewed, and the dates will be announced soon. Stay in touch with us, and I'll be, you know, once I have those dates, I'll share with you all. Again, count of people experiencing homelessness, September 22nd to September 24th. And this is the apportionment count. So after all of the information is collected, Census Bureau experts run and review output from programs to unduplicate responses. So for example, there's a lot of questions. Can I count myself twice? How does that work? So this is how it works. They have an algorithm in place, and they will run all of this data using that algorithm, and it will sift out all duplicates. And they will they'll process this between this period, April 1st to October 31st to April 30th. And then the redistricting data will be provided, and this is when it's going to be, you know, Census Bureau experts will run the programs to figure out the numbers on how the redistricting will take place. And this will be done May 1st to July 31st. And then all of this data will be delivered to the president on April 30th. Originally, it was supposed to be December 31st. So now this shows that if you do not want Trump in the House, this is why you would fill out your census, because you want your numbers to count, and you want, and you won't have that president in the office come come April 30th. And I mean, personally, I was fearful on how the money is going to be allocated, why they were pushing all of these dates so far ahead in 2021, when everything should have gone out by December 31st. So now we are going to be delayed by 4 months. So this is why you should, as community leaders and activists and partners, you should be talking to people, your friends and family, on why they should be filling out the census, and why they need to go out to vote. And then this is where within 14 days of the receipt, which is April 30th, within 14 days, the president will deliver apportionment counts to the Congress. Next slide, Brother Sammy. So these are the hard to count areas. We're going to talk about hard to count areas in Middlesex County because that's where I live, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to discuss the other hard to count areas throughout New Jersey. So what are hard to count areas? These are areas that have shown to be not so responsive in 2010 census. And most of these places, the folks that reside in these places are usually immigrants, DACA families, African American folks, and Southeast Asian, Arabs. So in Middlesex County, these are the hard to count areas: Edison, Woodbridge, Perth Amboy, New Brunswick, Sayreville, South River, Old Bridge, and South Brunswick. Old Bridge is actually doing pretty well right now. It's at 70%. But New Brunswick and Perth Amboy have been the main area of focus as of right now. And Sayreville happens to be an area of concern. I will go over the numbers in a few minutes. Talking about good news, we have the borough of Dunedin in Middlesex County that has surpassed the 2010 numbers. It was 69.5% in 2010, but right now it's 69.8. It's good, it's a good number, but do we want to be at 69.8 or do we want to be at 85 and above? That's a question we need to ask, right? When we're communicating this message to our community members. Here is Hunterdon County is leading the state, one of the top 3 in the region, and Somerset is number 2 in the state. Morris County happens to be number 1 right now. So Morris County, and then comes Somerset. Brother Sammy, next slide. So here's the data for the hard to count data. Just give me a moment. I'm going to share my screen. Just one moment. Brother Sammy, is it possible for you to share the Excel spreadsheet or should I do it on my end?
I can do it.
Okay, thank you. So here are the 2000 numbers. On the left are the 2000 numbers, and then on the right are the current numbers. If you look at it, Bergen County is 69.6, and Bogota is doing pretty well. 2010, it was 69.4. Right now it's 69.5. If you scroll down, Brother Sammy, so now in Essex County, this is where we have our areas of concern: East Orange, Orange, Newark, and Irvington. Here are the numbers. It's 46 and below, and in 2010 they were 46 and above. So what we want is, not only do we want to increase these numbers and reach the 2010 numbers, but we want to excel and go over 2010 numbers. So anyone that lives in these areas highlighted in red and black, these are the areas of concern. If you look at Hudson County, West New York, North Bergen, Union City, Jersey City, East Newark are areas of concern. We're focusing a lot on Jersey City right now, and I know some of the folks from the Muslim community. I'm not sure if Jessica is on the call, but she's doing census work in Jersey City. So getting the conversation started and reaching out to your families in those areas to fill out a census would be a good way, because this is how we would be getting funding for the state, for the schools, based on these numbers, and everything else that we have talked about. Brother Sammy, could you scroll down a little bit more? Now, Passaic County, Passaic and Patterson. Now, Patterson, as many of you know, it's highly diverse, a lot of immigrant community population that lives there. And there's a huge Muslim population that lives there in Patterson and Passaic. So if you look at the numbers, it's 47.2 in Patterson and 54.6. And right now, the way the numbers are going up, they're going up by 0.0 percentage points. So 0.01 percentage points. So they're going up in decimal points. So if you think from going to 54 to 68 is easy, it's not. We've been monitoring the numbers every day, and they've been going in up in decimal points. So the only way that's going to go up is if we were to talk to our community and tell them why it's important and why we need to fill out the census. Now, Sussex County, Vernon has surpassed the 2010 numbers. It's at 58.6. Great, but we do celebrate these highs, but it's not something that we should be content with at this point. Brother Sammy, could you go up a little bit, all the way up? If you look at Mercer County, Trenton and Ewing, again, lots of African American families that reside there, immigrant population. The numbers are very low in Trenton, 42%, and in 2010 it was 53.6. Again, New Brunswick and Perth Amboy and Carteret are areas of concern. And in Monmouth County, Asbury Park and Long Branch, and Keensburg, Flemington, North Plainfield, and Bound Brook. Now, I did not include the South Jersey numbers. I'm so sorry. I was working on it, and yesterday was our huge deadline for our work. So I couldn't put the data for South Jersey, but I can just go over some of the low response areas, which is Cape May and Atlantic County. These are the counties that are of huge concern. The numbers are below 60% in these two counties. Gloucester and Burlington are doing pretty well. They're over 70%. And Gloucester is third in the state behind Morris and Somerset. So Cape May, I know Brother Jimmy brought up the second home issue. So there's a lot of folks that own second homes in Cape May County and Atlantic County, and some of the shore areas like Asbury Park and Long Branch. So the way you would do it is you would go fill out your census, count yourself at your primary residence, and then for your secondary home, you would fill out, you would enter 0. So the Census Bureau knows how to count that. That's what we've been asked to tell everyone, and that's what we've been telling everyone. So if you have a second home, no matter where it is, this is how you would count yourself. And now if you have students that live on campus or off campus, if they are students living on campus, they will be counted in the group quarters. But if you live off campus in an apartment, you would count everybody that lives in that apartment with you. So just make sure you speak to your roommates, and one person is designated to fill it out, and you would enter that data for everybody on that form. Next slide, Sammy. So Census Grant Outreach Plan. So what is it that we are doing right now and how can we help, right? So we have heard a lot about Census, how it helps and why we should fill it out. These are the plans that are in place by the Complete Count Commission of New Jersey. And that this is what we're doing right now is we're asking organizations that are open, for example, libraries, religious organizations. I know libraries are not open completely yet, but in the second phase, they're going to be opening up and they might have smaller groups, have sessions or events at the libraries. When that happens, there will be kiosks. And if you're part of the library, if you're on the board of a public library, or if you know of a library, you have contacts with the library, you can ask them to have a kiosk. Designate a computer to set it as a kiosk for census purposes. And the community can go in and fill out the census there. Religious organizations like mosques are having prayer services right now. We can, if one of the ask in the end would be to communicate this with your local mosque and ask them to have a kiosk in place, especially for Jummah prayers, where if folks come, they do not know much about census. You have a census flyer posted there, and folks can just go in and fill out the census. All you would do is you would have the census website up, and they would just go in, fill it out, and it would be transmitted directly to the Census Bureau. So there is no transfer of information. It would still be safe. You would just have to let me know if there is any masjid that will be setting up a kiosk. What we can do is we can have it placed on the database of the New Jersey Census website. And also, I know a lot of nonprofit organizations are serving food and giving out food donations and are working as food pantries. So you can have census materials in those food bags. And friends and family outreach. This is a main thing that we've been asking folks to do is, take it upon yourself. Pick a day of the week and call 5 friends and family in your network and ask them to fill out the census. Tell them whatever you've learned from this session, or if you need any presentation or any material that you need, we can provide that. Brother Jimmy and myself, we can provide that. And you would just talk to them about why it's important. And you would know as a trusted partner and a family member, you would know exactly what the concerns are of these folks that you're talking to. And you can do it as a phone call, you can do it as an email, as a social media post, ask friends and family to fill out the census. It could be 5 friends and family, it could be 10. You pick a number and pick a day and do it. And that would be your contribution to the census. And the other way you can help is, share census information on social media and tag New Jersey Census 2020. What that would do is that would build more traffic and more conversation across New Jersey. So you're not just reaching out to your contacts, but you're actually tagging Census 2020, and you would hit a lot more ground using hashtags. I think we all know why we should use hashtags, and of course, make those posts public if you can. That would help a big deal as well. Brother Sami? So, and the other thing that's coming up is the census mobile billboards that are going to be going across the state of New Jersey. We have about 4 mobile billboards. These are huge trucks with billboards on the back. They're going to be driving across New Jersey and going through certain towns. So actually, they're going to be hitting a lot of cities and towns in New Jersey. I can provide their route and the days they're going to be passing by. And what you can do is you can reach out to your community partners, your organizations that you work with, or anyone that you help out, and look out for it. And have conversations around it. Somehow build some interest around it. If you're having an event, for example, a food pantry event, have it around that day and time. I will try my best to provide a time when it will pass by these certain cities and locations. I will do my best because these census mobile billboards, it's a huge thing. It's very complicated. They have to stay overnight at hotels and drive around different cities and then stop at different locations. So if you have a specific event, a huge event, plan around these dates when the census mobile billboard is going to be passing by. The other idea that I've been pushing for the past couple weeks has been Census Caravan. Please, if you are a community organizer, organize a census caravan, a car caravan. Decorate your cars with census messaging, have poster boards, drive around town, close to 4th of July, show your presence as Muslim Americans. We've been here for so long and we are still treated as outsiders. Our African American Muslim community, our Southeast Asian brown community, we have been treated as outsiders for so long. So the way you can participate in it is, do something fun, with your friends and family, with your community. I'm planning to do one in Old Bridge, probably June 27th, or the Friday before, um, 4th of July, and July 3rd, and I'm going to involve our township in it, our Democratic Party in it, and have some conversations around it. And then there's the ice cream trucks. If you have an ice cream truck that comes to your neighborhood, ask them if they can post flyers with I'll provide the flyers with QR codes. Ask them if they can post those flyers on their vehicles, and if they can tell folks to scan the QR codes and fill out the census. And there's incentives for these ice cream trucks. Some of you have received some tchotchkes from the Census Bureau, and some of you haven't. I will try my best to have some tchotchkes available. You can give these ice cream trucks those bags with tchotchkes and gifts so they can be involved in spreading the word. Another way you can help is the lawn sign activity we're doing with school students and families. So if you're an organization that works with students and families and your local masjids, have them create lawn signs and talk to your local businesses and ask them how, can you allow us to put these lawn signs in your by your drive-throughs or in your parking lots, or if you have a corner home, ask folks around and organize this. And it's completely doable. It's very easy. It will give you an activity during this COVID time when you're not really going out to do something fun at home that means something. And you're participating, this is civic engagement. You're getting the word out, you're helping your community, and you're doing something fun. Brother Sammy, next slide. So there's something called virtual mobile QA. So virtual mobile questionnaire assistance. This is what the U.S. Census Bureau is doing with their local partners, nonprofit organizations. And if you're interested in doing something like this, please do reach out to me or Brother Jimmy. What this is VMQA is a new type of filling out the census event that they're doing across the country. They can come, and if you have partners, for example, our Masjid in Old Bridge is predominantly Urdu, serves the Urdu-based speaking community. So if you wanted to do something there, I would ask some of the Urdu-speaking folks, including myself. I would be there with a table, and I would coordinate this with the U.S. Census Bureau, and I would have a table with, with the phones, and people could call us, and we would connect them to, we would tell them about how to fill it out, connect them to a line where they can fill out this, give their census information in. And if you don't have those local partners that that can be at those tables, the Census Bureau will handle it. If you have an event, you want to do it, and there is no human, you can still do this with social distancing and practicing proper safety measures. They will set it up, and they will connect the folks to the right numbers, language-based numbers. Brother Sammy, next slide. So these are the census kiosks that were put in place before COVID hit. And, there was a brief hiatus. We couldn't do this, until recently. And now there are nonprofit organizations that are opening up these census kiosks at their locations, especially medical facilities, religious centers, community centers, things like that. Like in Lakewood, there's a Jewish community center, and they have a census kiosk just like this, and they have instructions on there, and they have, a thing of antibacterial wipe, and you just go use the use the wipes, fill out the census, wipe it again, clean your hands, and leave. So it's very easy. Brother Sammy, next slide. These were going to be the mobile census support centers prior to COVID, but once the libraries open, if you see the picture, this was prior to COVID. There will be proper social distancing, but this can still happen. If you are in touch with local libraries, religious organizations, any nonprofit organizations that are opening up slowly, they can have these mobile census support centers. Next slide, Brother Sammy. And that's it. This is all I had. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Again, there's a link for American Muslims for Democracy in the end. Please click on that, follow us. And how do you fill out the census? 2020 census.gov.
Thank you so much, Brother Jimmy Small and Sister Zainab. We do have quite a few questions. So we will open up for that, and I'll read some. I have my first question for Brother Jimmy Small and Sister Zainab. You have mentioned the word numerator. It sounds like a Terminator coming to your house. So could you explain a little bit more about this numerator person or what they are?
He or she is a census taker, is what they normally say. They're going to come and ask you the same questions that you should have responded to, either on the paper form, by phone, or online. I think Sister Zainab mentioned the fact that they will come with materials like a laptop or a cell phone or something that has clearly on it that this person is working for the census. And I think they have some identification that they must have as well.
All right, thank you. Question is, can community request a kiosk for any event for things like weekend school during their operation?
Can community ask for kiosks? So if you are working with your local complete count committee, Brother Jimmy would be a big help in this because he is on the complete count committee of East Orange. So if you're in touch with your local complete count committee, you can ask them to provide a laptop, or so some of the counties are also giving out laptops that you can have at your religious center. They can lend it to you for a couple days, and you can give it back. If you don't have contacts with your local county, reach out to me or Brother Jimmy, and we can connect you with. We can figure this out.
All right, I have posted a link for WhatsApp chat in the chat group, so please join us. We can keep this conversation going. Question is,
Brother Ayaz, I have something else to add. If you have a laptop, you can give it to your Islamic center, or have someone monitor it, volunteer to monitor it, and just have the Census 2020 website on. And as a local partner, they would trust your device as well. It doesn't have to have certain things in place. All they need is a laptop where they know exactly where to go, and they will have to fill it out.
thank you. Next question is, what assurances can be given to those who are undocumented that their responses will not be shared with ICE and other federal agencies?
So, under Title 13, everything is protected, and every enumerator, everyone who works with the Census Bureau in any capacity has taken that oath. And also, none of this information, once this information is taken, is transferred, it's translated into data points, right? So and everything else in terms of name and address is discarded. So before this is shared with it is converted into data points. So none of this information goes into anyone else's hands. And besides, there is no question if of citizenship on the census questionnaire. So you wouldn't have to worry about if someone's going to find out if you're undocumented, if you're, whatever it is, your citizenship status is not discussed at all. You don't have to end, there's no question about it in the questionnaire. So, no one would know what your citizenship status is at that point.
I just wanted to totally agree with what Zainab said, but I'm going to be simplistic in my response. Just don't be scared. As I like to say sometimes, this census is about political power. It's also about programs, and it's also about money. We must do it. It's not going. It's, as Sister Zainab gave a great explanation as to why it is secured. So don't be afraid to complete the census.
The next question is there a way to get the response rate of a specific township going forward? In other words, how can anyone pull up and see what their township is doing and what percent they are at?
There is something and Sister Zainab, correct me from what some call a 2020 census self-response. I use that thing every day. You can get it all the way down to the census tract level. I have a block association, which I'm president of, and coincidentally, that is a whole census tract. So yes, you can find out almost down to the street level what the response rate for your particular locale.
Yeah, so I want to share my screen to go over the map, but I can do that in the end if you like. And we can also share the link on the group chat on WhatsApp. And
that will be good. Yes, towards the end, if you can share that, that will be great. Just so you know, South Jersey is not happy with you because you did not have South Jersey numbers. So we do need to provide that at some point. Next question is, what are the numbers based on? How do we know the total percent to get the current registered numbers?
This is the information that people have actually submitted to the Census Bureau. Sometimes, and I think Sister Zainab mentioned it in her presentation, it goes up only by decimal points. And especially in hard to count areas like my location, that's what you look for. It's that simple. It's what's been self-responded. That's why the census takers or enumerators will soon be going out.
thank you, Brother.
The next question is, should H1B1, work visa, student visa, and undocumented complete the census?
Yes. I would differ. I will double check, but as far as I know, yes, you should, because if you've been living here for quite some time and your kids are going to the school system and they are taking advantage of certain, and they would benefit from certain resources, you should count yourself. But I'm going to get back to you on that. Because just like undocumented immigrants should be filling out the census, everyone should be filling out the census. Whoever is living in this state as of April 1st, you will count yourself wherever you were living as of April 1st and count yourself in the census. Because all of these benefits that we get is based on the census numbers.
Okay, I have a question and a request for everyone, and Sister Zainab has alluded to that. I mean, there's a task and there's an ask. So we like to know how you can help us to connect with your organizations, with the religious leaders, with your board, where they can join the presentation and understand what census is all about, and help us to convey the message. So that will be the ask towards the end. At this time, I'd like to see if Imam Safet can unmute and join us. He has a comment and also a question. Imam Safet? Imam Safet, could you join us? Could you unmute and comment and question, please? Okay, we'll see. All right, not a problem. Would anyone has any question until then we'll go back to the chat room. So any questions, please unmute and ask.
All right, someone asked me a question by text. How can you get a lawn sign? You probably are going to have to see the complete count committee in your town, which in many places is located right in the city hall.
I have a question. This is Farhat.
Hi, Farhat.
Yeah, my question is not directly related to the count itself. My question is, what if some rogue nation wants to manipulate the census count in America for their own purposes? How is there a vetting to make sure that the information that is being fed to the census, when you said it's been converted into data points, and when it's converted into data points, the original information is not sourced anymore? So if I'm a rogue nation and I want to, say, increase the census figures in Republican neighborhoods and feed misinformation, how is that something that's been guarded against?
I mean, I would like to, answer this question. If you look at the state agencies, the way they have the systems are very complicated and highly protected, and the same goes for the countries data clouds. So they're highly there's a high security. There's all of this data, as soon as it goes in, it's turned out into data points. So none of this data is, it's stored temporarily, and then it's, decimated into, data points, and all of the previous data is gone, erased. So yes, I understand what you are asking about rogue nations, but what I think is, how many times has someone hacked a highly intelligent and complicated, secure, site of our nation's anything, right? Any department? It hasn't really happened. So and census takes, a lot of money has been spent in securing these systems, and so I understand the fear, but I think that there should be no fear, because something like that has not happened in a very, ever. So
thank you very much. Yeah.
That's the fact.
Just to add to this,
voter registration will sort of counteract that as well. The amount of registered voters in an area.
And just to add to this, from the complete count committees that I've been attending, what I'm told is that the data is turned into some digital format, and it's stored in different databases. It's not stored in one particular area. So it goes to different areas. So if anyone does happen to hack that particular site, it will not make sense to them. So that's something that was shared with me. I just wanted to share with everyone. There is a question, actually a comment and question. It's from Imam Safet. Thank you for this important info and very informative and educational webinar. Will you be sharing a link to the recording and attach relevant documents and links that we can share with others? Also, may be useful to include talking points and select a Friday Jummah as Census Jummah, during which Imam can inform the community virtual or in person, about the census and ask them to follow the example of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. So Sister Zainab and Brother Jimmy Small, any comments on this?
I know that there are a lot of councils of imams around the state. Safed, I've known you since you were a child, and many other people have known you that long as well. I think it could be coming from you to talk to the various imams and those councils of imams to tell them to include that, because you're absolutely right. I've heard khutbahs on the pandemic and Black Lives Matter and some of the other germane issues that are going on right now. So that's my suggestion.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you, Brother Imam Safed, for bringing this up. We've been talking about this for a while. Even in Ramadan, we were trying to do a census Jummah and have the imams talk about it. But like Brother Jimmy said, if you could bring this up, I could provide the talking points. And I know Brother Sammy is recording this webinar. This can be shared as well in the group on the WhatsApp chat. And you can use that as well if you like with the imams to do a presentation. And we can even have one of the census representatives on the call,
Yes.
the religious
Yes,
leaders
okay.
from the Census Bureau and from the Department of State. We can have folks on the call. So just let us know when you want to do it, and any help you need, we're here.
So actually, Brother Imam Safet is suggesting that we should have dedicate a census Jummah, which you should look at, and we should be requesting help from everyone on this chat to help us with that. So yes, that's a great idea. Another question: my kids share a townhouse with 3 boys from India and Pakistan. It is located off campus. Kids like those, it's located off campus. Kids like those are reluctant to share their info. How can we ensure them it is safe?
I mean, again, I can reiterate the fact that everyone who is involved, who looks at this data to any extent, has taken an oath, so they cannot share with anyone. There's huge fines and jail time for anyone who does that. And this supersedes the president. The president has no authority over it. So he can't just summon the data to be provided and override it. It's not possible. So it is very safe. And if they're living in an off-campus facility, just tell them how, I can provide some of the information about why the student should be counted. I will write that down and I will share the links to it. You can share that with them and ask them to fill it out. Like I said, again, none of that data is stored. The only thing that's stored is there's three students of this age living in this town or in this city. And more than that, there's nothing else that's transmitted from one department to the other.
In addition, I had mentioned education during my presentation. This is all the more reasons why those students need to make sure they are counted, because it has to do with funding.
Yes.
Thank you. Brother Zishan has a question. Brother Zishan, go ahead.
I think it's not a question, but just answering the question that was addressed previously about the H-1B visa. Just want to clarify, every U.S. resident, irrespective of their visa statuses, obviously being sent the census. And regarding that, so every resident must complete it. So regardless of you have H-1B, L, F1 or a B1, or you're illegal migrant, you should fill out the U.S. Census 2020, along with all the U.S. citizens.
Thank you. I'd like to reach out to Brother Rizwan Malik. Brother Rizwan Malik, just a question. How is Atlantic City and your area doing, and what can be done to help and support Jersey Shore with census?
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Rizwan Mulin, ex-City Council, City of Atlantic City. First of all, I want to thank you, all the people that came and gave all that very good information, Mr. Jimmy and Sister Zainab, and every other speaker. Very good information, very proud of that happening. Myself, I'm a very active person. I do what sorry for that. I also do a vote registration drive around my area, and because I know the importance of it, and I let the community know about that. Census is as important and maybe more important before the vote because it counts and brings the funding to the community, and everybody that gets any kind of funding, food stamps or any other Medicare or medical or anything, all that funding comes because of the census is counted. So some communities, they don't participate, they don't get enough funding, so that means they don't have enough help. So I personally go to the masjids, and I will also will be part of that, and I will make sure that every imam addresses it in every masjid in our Atlantic County, starting from Atlantic City.
Thank you so much. What support, Brother Rizwan, can Sister Zainab or Brother Jimmy Small provide to you, if any?
Well, I got most of the information that they already have said, especially with the Sister Zainab. She said there is like a website you could go to and reach out. And I wish I have some kind of like a direct number, like when I need something to ask as a questions, so I could directly ask her questions. And then after talking to the imams and having a khutbah on census, and if they need somebody like online presence, I would like to have one of the representative at that time answering questions or something like that.
Rizwan, what I can do is I will get you in touch with the census support specialist from the state of New Jersey for South Jersey, who helps out with Atlantic County. And what I'll also do is I'll put you in touch with the partnership specialist for that area from U.S. Census Bureau. And what they will do is you'll be in touch with them and anything you need. And if you're doing an event and you need someone to talk, anything else, any questions, they'll be able to provide it. And of course, you can always reach out to me if there's any concern.
Really, thank you very much. And that's very important to to take it out to the community, because a lot of people, actually, I don't know, for some reason, a lot of people I see, they're scared to fill up these applications due to a lot of other reasons because lack of knowledge. So we could provide that knowledge to the people.
Thank you so much. Brother Muhammad Jawad, if you can join the conversation as well. How is Indian American communities doing, and how can we help your organization with this? Brother Muhammad Jawad.
Well, thank you, Brother Ayaz, and thank you, Sister Zainab. I think it was a good presentation, and definitely, I think we need to create awareness in masajids, and also we need to send flyers when I think masajids emails goes around. Maybe we should send this around that. I think I had a question about how are we getting the total count? Like basically, I know we say 60%, right? So do we know how many Muslims are already there in a community before? Like if there are 100 people there, we can get how many registered, right? 60 people registered, but how do we know what is the total count to begin with?
Brother Jawad, total count of what? Total count of Muslims?
Yeah, right now, like we said, like 60% registered from Edison, for example, right? So 60% of how many, like, if like 10 people registered, how do we know how many people are already there to get the percentage?
So the 60% reflects the entire community of Edison, for example. It doesn't, we don't have data in terms of how many Hispanics and how many African Americans, how many Southeast Asians have filled it out. We don't have data like that. And that's what I'm saying. That's why it's safe, because there's no differentiation at the end of the day. Once the data is entered, it comes in as how many people have entered throughout Edison. Now, if you drill down, I just shared the link to the map. If you look at the map on the left-hand side, let me try to do a screen share very quickly. See if I can do it. Here you go. So if you have, you're on this map, I shared this link on the group chat already. You can go drill down. So I'm looking at New Jersey, right? So if I want to just do states, I am in states and I do click on state, and then I put New Jersey, right? So it'll bring up all the data for New Jersey. And this is real time, and soon, I think end of June, they're going to do it. The update is going to be done once a week. But until then, it's real time every day. At the end of the day, at 3 o'clock, it's updated. So it's really not real time. I'm sorry, but it's updated every day. Here's the 2020 numbers for New Jersey, and this is 2010. Now, if you're looking at Edison, I would drill down to city. It should be township, but let me try. All right, so this is Edison. And now if you enlarge it, if you look at the numbers on the right, you look at this legend on the right, it shows, oh my God.
So I think I got your point. I think, Sister Zainab, thank you, Jazakallah, for that. Question for you. I think the remaining people who are not registered, right? Can we basically get a list of Muslims who are not registered and then target them? Or is that difficult to do?
So this is what I'm saying. There's no such thing as registration. This is not like voting where you register to vote and then you go to vote. This is just a questionnaire. It's a survey that you take online. You go online and you fill it out. And once you fill it out, you're counted as a person living in Edison. It doesn't matter what background you're from, you're counted as one person, in whatever age group you fall under. And that's how you're counted. So if you look at the map, you can drill down and look at the color on the right-hand side. You see all those colors. The more brown it gets, the worse the count has been in those areas. So for example, if you live in Sayreville, or if you live in Edison and you see the census tract, where the response rate has been very poor, you can drill down to it and see, and you can even look at the street names and what families live there, right? You can reach out to those families on those streets. If you have data like that, or that your friends live in Edison, or some, an organization that's working in Edison, they would know who to reach out to, and you would just reach out to all your families in Edison and say, these are the locations where we have low response rate. Take a screen cap, shot of this, share with your friends and family, and ask them, if you haven't filled out your census, fill it out. This is a low response area.
Right. Yeah. So, Brother Jawad, we won't be able to get the information based on, like, for example, if I took the census or not. There is no such thing, and there is no such thing whether how much Muslim community did or how much any other community did. This is where we just have to talk to the people that we know and just get confirmation word of mouth that they did this. So hopefully that answered the question.
One of the things I'm doing.
I got it. I think. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
One of the things I'm doing, since I'm the ward chair for the Democrats, I've asked my district leaders, because we're making wellness calls to get people, to make sure we get as many people to vote in this election on July 7th. So as part of the wellness calls, we are asking people to complete the census. In fact, I want to thank Sister Zainab and Kevin Derricott for giving me some material, because once this call is finished, I'm going to be paying a visit to some people to give some material so they can, in this particular case, pass out in their church. And I will also be getting to the messages, the ones that are open, because not all of them are open yet. So it's just a personal touch.
Yeah.
The personal touch works.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely. I think we need to push from our side, and I think, Brother Az, I'm going to push from my side. You know, we got some groups, so we can push it, saying, okay, guys, go ahead and at least you know, get your name on.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we're on to 1 hour and 26 minutes. Let's just make this last question, unless there are other questions. We'll hang on for a few more minutes. The question is, I'm familiar and engaged with Muslim special need families. What resources, tips, advice that I can use to ensure these families are filling out the census? How can I find info about how many families have filled out? Well, we already answered the last part, but for special needs, what resources are there available?
It's the same resources that are available for everyone else, but there are organizations that are working with families that that have special needs family members. So what I can do is, if you please come on the WhatsApp group and send me this question there, I will connect you with some of the nonprofit organizations that are working with special needs families in New Jersey, and I can help you get some of the resources. I'm not sure what resources you want, but I think what you are asking for is in terms of how does filling out census help families with special needs, right? How does it help them? So I can provide that. I can get that information for you. And the next question, Brother Ayaz, I'm just going to go over it since it just popped up. Do you have information in Urdu? There are language-based guides for census on the census website. I will share the link to the Urdu guide.
I had posted the that's one of the 59 languages that's not 100% supported, and you can go to that YouTube website and it will explain everything to the person who may need it in Urdu.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I do want to say thank you to Brother Jimmy Small and Sister Zainab Syed for joining today. Very informative session. The plan was only to do this for half an hour to 45 minutes. We're at 90 minutes. Do want to say thank you. Thank you to everyone who participated. And also a very, very, very special thanks to Brother Sami Beg, who is behind the scenes running this Zoom webinar. Brother Sami Beg, thank you so much. We truly appreciate it. Thank you all. Be safe. Take care of yourself. And Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.